Hi everyone, I Komal welcome you all here for an interesting and knowledgeable Twitter space on design and build a developer portfolio. This event is organized by AngelHack Club of Northcap University, India. AngelHack ignites the passion of developers, entrepreneurs, and innovators to build the future. We connect the companies with the world's most vibrant community of code creators, change makers to bring new ideas of life and make change happen together. Today we have with us Akash Bhadange, Chief OTP Officer and designer of Peerlist, to sh- to guide us further on how to make a representable portfolio designs. Stage is yours.
So I think we can start with this. Like, if a designer is building, like, if a developer is building a portfolio, then like, what are the major steps he should take and remind, like, while building his portfolio? Like, he can build a portfolio in many different ways. What are those? You can start with that.
Okay, so I think first we all really need to understand the why of portfolio, like uh, why you really want to build a portfolio. Are you job hunting, or you just want to showcase your work, or you just focusing on your personal branding? So there are different aspects uh, to building a portfolio. We always have these different objectives which we want. Sometimes we just want a online presence, which is where you can uh, let people know about yourself and about your work and attract opportunities maybe. So depending on all these, basic objectives in mind, you can then start building your portfolio. So first is then also like developer is a very vast term. It has different different sections. There could be back-end engineers, there could be front-end engineers, there could be then there are different technologies and different uh, areas of engineering where developers basically work. So depending on that also, your portfolio basically differentiates. So yeah, I think first we really need to understand the objective, who you are, what you want to showcase, what you want to present, and depending on that, you can just start designing the portfolio. Also, like you need to also understand, like, do you really want to put that much of efforts on building your own portfolio from scratch, or your GitHub profile works for you, and if you are into between job switching and interviews and all those things, do you have that much of time to maintain and build it from scratch? So yeah, I think these are the points which one must consider while building the portfolio, designing the portfolio.
Okay, and like if we move on to like if we are mentioning like we are always confused like what to like give the preference, the internships or the projects. So how we can showcase them in our portfolio? Like if we are mentioning a project, what should we mention and how we can mention those?
So again, I would say the same thing, like what a backend engineer can talk about or how they can show their work. It's easy for designers because their work is like always visible and quite visual as well. And then there are front-end engineers who also have frameworks and all those things to show. So I think depending on that, you can write or show your work. So I think let's say case studies is something which is really I believe important because how you articulate your work and how you uh, how's your writing skills, right? Basically, so I always believe that uh, there is that saying, no, that show your work and don't tell, like just show, don't tell. But I don't believe in that. Like you should always show and you should always tell about your design. So I think case studies are something which is really interesting way to showcase your work, what you have done, what was the problem you were solving, how what are the problems you face during that, and how you resolve that, right? So maybe writing case studies could be one of the way.
Okay. Before moving forward, I request like if someone wants to speak, they can just request, and I will give them the access to speak. And Akash, like you talked about the case studies. Like when I try to build any design, it's really difficult to to design actually a case study. So how can we proceed with that?
I think there are many tools which helps you to design, or maybe you can just go for a very basic template, right? Uh, which so your objective is basically showcasing your work. So um, or as a designer, like if you are a designer who wants to showcase his design skills and front end development skills and all those, then they can go for like absolutely out of the box ideas putting into their portfolio, right? But as a developer, you might need to just keep it as minimal as possible. Just showcase a couple of things. For example, the projects which you worked on, uh, the blog articles which you might have written, and those things. So I think, uh, and then there are many tools also which helps you create your portfolio, right? There are many web tools. You don't have to spend a lot of time on building it from scratch. Then there are different frameworks which helps you to uh, create and build and develop your portfolio from scratch. So I think depending on how much time or how much efforts you want to put into that, you can select the no-code tools which are out there, or if you want to, harness your skills of web designing and all those things, then you can code it from scratch using different frameworks like Tailwind and Bootstrap and all those things.
Okay. So if like a beginner is starting off with the building a portfolio, then what would be like the procedure? Like he should spend his time only on his portfolio or working simultaneously on his skills as well as his portfolio.
I think it depends on the individuals. Also, as I mentioned in the beginning, like what is your objective? Your objective is to get a job, get an internship, or just to showcase your work and build a personal brand, right? So if your objective is get a job, you really don't want to spend a lot of time on, giving finishing touches to your portfolio and maintain it for a long time, because your time should be given to the coding assignments and the interviews, right? So you can go for any no code tool at the beginning, and then see how much time you can give it to maintain that. And then if you really think that you really want to, maintain your dedicated domain portfolio, then you can like build from scratch and showcase your like work on that. But I have seen like many seasoned designers, seasoned developers have very simple portfolios, right? They have very simple stuff. It's more about what kind of a work they do rather than designing those portfolios and all those things.
Okay, so from a company perspective, like what they actually see in a personal portfolio, like generally they ask for the resumes. So
Yeah,
what actually differentiate between them, like when they apply for it?
I think how well or how amazingly your portfolio is designed plays a very minimal role, honestly. It's more about what kind of a projects you have worked on, what are the technologies you have worked on, and how you convey your proficiency in those skill sets or in those languages, for example, in developers case. For example, if I'm talking about Node.js, right? If I'm claiming that I know Next.js and Node.js and MongoDB and all these technologies, I would like to see your code on a GitHub, right? I really want to see that, how consistently you have been doing that. So I want to see, and these are the things which gives me signal as a recruiter whether I want to hire you or not, right? Uh, Creating like a beautiful design portfolio is one thing. Of course, that gives you first impression, but when we dig deep into your code and what kind of work you have done in the past or what kind of side projects you have built so far, those things actually gives us stronger signals whether we want to hire you or not. And then there is third step, right? Whatever you have showcased, can you articulate that in a better way, or in a good way while we are talking one on one, right? So yeah.
And yeah, like if you are building a like if you move on to building a personal portfolio, like personal branding, like usually now the developers are moving towards building their personal brand as well while applying for the job, any job.
Yeah.
So like what all like how they can proceed? Like I personally find the problems in finding the target audience.
You cannot find target audience in a month
Yeah,
or
like
so,
how can we
right?
justify like find out like how can we know that what are the target audience, like what are the steps for it?
Join different communities, be part of different conversations, meet people, do networking, right? That
Okay.
will give you a lot of understanding of what is happening in the industry and how you have to sharpen your skills or sharpen yourself, and how you can fit into that industry. Um, so I think, yeah, those are the things. We are, in the end, we are humans, right? So we really have to interact with people, talk to people, ask questions, uh, talk to like-minded people, talk to people who are ahead of us, and get that understanding. And having a portfolio is just the beginning, honestly, right? There are so many steps after that. Um, so yeah.
Yeah. So, is it necessary for a like developer to have the knowledge about designing skills? Like, if I meet like many of my friends, they work totally on the back end and they don't give actually a shit about the front end
Hmm.
and about the design. So, is it necessary for them to know about the designing part?
No, I don't think so. I mean, if they can differentiate between a good design and bad design, that is enough. They
Okay.
really don't have to be master in that. Otherwise,
Yeah, they
हमारे जैसे
can't.
डिजाइनरों को कौन पैसे देगा, right? No
Yeah.
one will pay to the designers, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
I,
Yeah. And if someone wants to ask anything, they can just like ask for the request and ask any of their doubts. And like moving on, if correct, we talked about the like we have a senior peer list that you have invented and founded the peer list. Can you tell more about the peer list, like how it solves the problem of building a portfolio for a developer? Hello, hello, am I audible?
Yep.
yeah, sorry, I was on mute. Sorry. So
So
yeah, so the problem, we actually started with a problem which we faced personally. So Yogini, my co-founder, she's a full stack engineer, and she started creating her personal brand by writing articles about different technologies, from front end and the back end and all those things. And she was quite active on the Twitter tech community, and that's how she got following. And because of that, she got approached by so many recruiters, and she was interviewing at least simultaneously 3 to 4 companies. And she was busy with writing, doing coding assignments and interviews and preparing for that. And at the same time, she wanted to have a portfolio, but she had no time because she was busy with all these things. So, and it was absolutely difficult to convey, apart from only coding, what she can do. Right? She was absolutely brilliant with articulating, writing tutorials and articulating her code in an article or on a blog post. Right? And she was writing a lot on dev.to, and we realized that okay, this is the problem, she's struggling, and this could be the problem faced by many people who are job hunting and at this stage. So we just sent out a survey to like 200 people and got amazing response out of it, and we realized that okay, this is the problem faced by many people. So can we have some solution on that? And that's how Peerlist started. So the main objective was, as a uh, as a developer, there are many things you do. You have GitHub portfolio profile. You have, let's say, if you write on Medium, or you have a newsletter on Substack. There are many designers or many developers who do multiple things at the same times. Because of the pandemic, also people got a lot of time, so they started doing uh, different things. So we thought, okay, all this work which is scattered on the internet, can we bring all that on a single work profile, and how we can do it as efficiently as possible? And that's how Peerlist started.
Okay. Anonymous, do you want to ask anything? You can
Yeah.
go ahead.
So I want to ask about, do we need any achievements to put in our portfolio? Because I am trying to take part in hackathons, and when I go to Devfolio, they always have hackathons on Web 3.0, and I only learned Web 3 2.0, which is a little scary for me, because when I go and try to learn Web 3.0, then the Web 3.0 is a little different, because when I try to find any tech stack of that, and I try to find good tutorials, I didn't get any of them.
So what exactly the question is?
So my question is, do we need achievements to put in developer portfolio?
I don't think so. I mean, achievements is quite subjective. For me, it's different. For someone else, it's different. For me, I'm talking to a space with Deepanshu could be an achievement. For someone, it won't be, right? So I don't think so that you really need something as an achievement. I have seen people, mostly students, putting achievements in their resumes or on their portfolios, like I helped organize paper presentation competition in my company. Well, that's a good signal, but that won't help you after 5 years, right? And these are the things which you really have to like mindful about what you want to put as an achievement. So yeah, your achievement could be you like uh, reduce the loading time or API response time of your backend system by 70%. That's an achievement in a project. I would like to see something like that. So yeah.
Yeah. Here is what you can ask your doubt.
Thank you, Akash.
Yeah, no, actually, I don't really have any doubt. I'm just here to listen and just speak about some of the tips that I used in my own portfolio. So that's all. I'm just listening to the questions that come up and see if I can get an opportunity to answer.
Okay, okay. Thanks for joining, Rajat.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I think we have one more request. Okay, it's Akanksha.
Yeah.
Go ahead and ask it.
Yeah, so while building your portfolio, so apart from internship and certificates which we show on portfolio, what are the projects we should do for ourselves? Which aren't necessary to mention in your portfolio, but just to grow your perspective towards designing.
Do open source contribution.
Yeah.
I mean, there are many things or many tasks which are open for very long on so many repositories, which can pick someone which interests you and contribute to those open source projects, right? Those could be, I mean, people have built career around that. So
So
you
shouldn't we
can do
read?
something like that
Uh,
just to, yeah, go ahead.
Hello. Yeah.
Yeah, you
Shouldn't
are
be
audible now.
for anything like sort of very small things like a single feature we are working on. For example, it could be any search option. Okay, you think that this search option shouldn't be on this place, it should be replaced. So is it okay to work on such
That's how
small
you
things?
start.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's how you start, right?
yeah, yeah. And
You,
suppose
I
you're
mean,
having
your
any
PR
idea.
won't be merged
Yeah, yeah,
if
yeah,
you're absolutely new and you're doing something really big feature, trying to raising a PR for that and trying to merge that. I doubt that will happen, right? Any open source maintainer will look at you that how many contributions you have done to the repository in the past, and you really have to start small. And I think it could be anything. It could be a label change for an input text box. You can start from that, and then you can go ahead and step up the ladder uh, of bigger PRs and all those things. So you start small.
yeah, yeah,
Just want to
yeah.
add
And
there.
as
Yeah,
yeah,
Akash, I
yeah,
just want to add that from my experience of open source. Yeah, it's in starting, it's very tedious. You think like how I can make a PR or make start working on the feature of maybe big open source projects. But it's just from my experience. Try to connect with community, to have a good communication with the you can say the maintainer of that particular project. Because what we do, we think open source more like more on doing coding. We didn't communicate with the community members out there, or maybe the moderators out there of that particular project. So have a conversation with them. They will kick you like I'm just sharing my experience of GSOC. What happened before getting into GSOC program? I didn't know anything about TensorFlow. I just work with around small projects, and I just asked in the community like I am new to this community. I want to contribute to TensorFlow. Is there anyone out there who can help me out? And after a 1 week, they didn't create a issue for me, but they just create a project tab for me on in the feature implementation of TensorFlow.js, and that's how community works. Try to be communicative you can say in the whole community. They will help you out. So that's just my plus point to the Akash one. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, thank you. And another question is that suppose you have any idea, like sort of any app, okay? So, what should be the mindset or the mind flow behind the implementation regarding both the UI, UX as well as UI, in the flow, right? Proper requirement gathering and everything. So, what should be the proper flow for it?
Sorry, can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, suppose you have any idea, any specific idea regarding an app, okay? So, what should be your approach? Like the basic mind flow, mindset behind solving a problem. So, starting from scratch, as a beginner, I do have questions like how should I start, where should I end it, and that sort of thing, both regarding the UX as well as UI.
I think just treat it as a side project. You don't
Hmm.
have to think about so many things like what could be the process of UI, should I do the wireframes and all those things. You really don't have to do that, right? Because then you will never start. Honestly, that's not
Hmm.
sorry. So I think you will never able to start any project if you think all these chunks, because in a startup or in a company there are like 20 people working on different aspect or workflow of these things. So just start small.
Hmm.
Akansha, do you have any more doubts?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, BD, go ahead and ask it out.
Yeah, actually, my thing is different. I have 3 years of experience in software field, and I worked in this product-based company as full stack developer. But I don't have any portfolio. When I had this interview with like I had a call from one of the FAANG companies, Amazon, and they told send me your resume, and in that resume I was not able to build anything other than my 12th standard marks and 10th standard marks, which is nowhere useful. And what I was doing at my company was that company which I was working was back end coding, and mostly something like okay, I was able to write yeah, as he said, 30 percentage reduction in timing of back end calls, and faster loading of those images and all those stuff. But is it very important to have a portfolio? For example, I have one of my friend doing this API kind of thing, and he is also contributing to open sources. So, is that very important to get a job or to increase my visibility? in order to improve my career. And I also try to develop a application in Android. And I'm a little bit lazy. I am not able to develop that big applications which I'm thinking. I can develop small applications, but I don't think it will attract the recruiters or anyone. So, what is the kind of project which I should take for portfolio building? And yeah, that's my question.
I think Akash got disconnected. Kartika, do you want to answer the question?
From that what I got, majorly like if you're thinking like you cannot add anything to your resume rather than the job that you are doing. Again, the answer is to that for from my end is open source. Is like that. If suppose right now I'm a like you can a student developer community intern at Postman, and it's more on you can say more specific on you can say community side role. But again, I'm also trying to on a side you can say side hustle you can say also contributing to the open source projects or being active in open source community. And again, the back to reward thing came into play. Learn in public concept. If you are learning something new in maybe you can say Monday to Friday is your job work, and Saturday to Sunday is your you can say a holiday. And on that holiday you can see your side hustles kind of stuff you can do. Maybe do some open source projects, or you can build up your own community, work with those community. Maybe it can be possible right now you are in Bangalore, but you also have some college friends at your college town or college city. You can build maybe a small community with them, start working on the project. So again, it's a long process. But again, getting into community, getting into LinkedIn or Twitter, be more active in tech. Twitter helps you grow faster and to understand what actually tech Twitter, or maybe actually how the whole open source journey or like of yours journey maybe get started with that. So that's my take. Again, open source is the answer to all that what I experienced through my right now I am not graduated. I'm right now in my final year, but the open source gives me so many opportunity, not only in terms of tech but also in terms of advocacy. That what I'm right now doing as an intern job or intern role you can say. So that's my point over there. Yeah.
BD, is your doubt clear?
Can you please suggest me how to start with the open source? I've seen many websites, I've even seen YouTube videos. Or can you suggest me something like that?
So what you can do, like I can give you some of the shout outs to the open source YouTube channel. First one is Eddie Jord, who is in GitHub star of previous GitHub star. Second one is Kunal Kushwaha. I think so. It is pretty much like he's famous.
Yeah,
You didn't know him, but he's there's another guy who working on open source, Cavalier, but he's not a YouTuber right now, but he's creating content over that side. So that's some of the thing that what I put it on here. Yeah.
thank you, thank you. I will see to that. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go ahead and ask about. Uh, I think he's not here. Sohan, you can go ahead.
Oh, hi. I thought you said Shubham, so I got a bit confused. Sorry. All right, so I'll just give a short intro about myself. So I'm Sohan. I'm working as a design manager, UI UX, with an US-based management consulting firm. And yeah, I mean, it's a very interesting thing to see a lot of questions being popped up around developers, portfolio, and also design in combination with that. The only thing I believe is that I mean, so my question, of course, I'll come to that, but I want to give clarification, through this podium that we are talking about a product portfolio, right? It's not just design or develop a product. Sorry, design or develop a portfolio, but I think it's a combination of both. I think there were a lot of questions flowing around. What is a UX process or what is a UI process, and then also certain people are asking about what are the suggested frameworks that you would refer to or sort of, discuss about. I think the best way to answer that is that we cannot mix up two things together. So if you're talking about design, we need to be very specific. And there's a bunch of content there. You can go to platforms like Pinterest, Dribble, Behance for design specifically. And for coding, of course, there is, I think we have experts on the panel who are actually giving some really good recommendations on the coding front as well. So yeah, but my question is around to the respected panel that I'm mostly working with data analytics, and I'm mostly designing UI for BI specific platforms like Salesforce, Tableau, MicroStrategy, as well as to name more of them. So the challenges that I face is that we cannot have like a specific design system, which is again maintained with a repository on GitHub and stuff. So how do we encounter those challenges? Have you had any experiences within your space? And what is a recommendation that you would give? Thank you.
I think I honestly I never faced that problem because I was working most of the time with the single product company, um, and like in my previous two companies, I actually worked on design systems. So, so I think I'm not qualified or have enough experience to answer to your question. But yeah, I mean,
That's
I can
fine. That's
understand
fine.
your
Not a problem,
situation,
Akash.
so on. I
Yeah.
mean, I can understand your
Yeah.
situation as a designer.
Yeah, because
It's
honestly
like,
speaking, I think that's one challenge that I face. I mean, we can make the most consistent design system, and we can have our type scales and colors in place,
yes,
and talk about accessibility and all of those things, which
yes.
covers up, I think, all the areas of design and as well as development of a specific product. Then whether it's a MVP or a side project or whether it's a POC, and just to name it, like we have different product scales and different ways of looking at it. But I think that was one area where I felt like maybe if the panel has the expertise, that how do we tackle restricted frameworks wherein the capability of designing or coding certain things. But what do you call it? So the ideas or the hacks that I had was, because we don't have like a responsive layouts in BI frameworks, if to be precise, right, Akash? I think this, that BI frameworks come with a really restricted, space, and it cannot be adaptive layouts. So the best hack that we can have is, of course, looking at certain things from component-based sort of strategy, wherein you can build components both from the design front as well as the development front, and also that makes things very easy. Um and I mean, it's really difficult to make everybody understand in the room. Probably they must be thinking, okay, what is going on? But I think Akash and some folks who have worked in that sort of an environment, they already understand the kind of language that I'm speaking right now.
Yeah, I mean, I can see a couple of designers also, like Deepanshu is an audience. I would like to like pull these folks and maybe if they have anything to talk about. But
Yeah, actually,
I can actually understand your situation because it's absolutely difficult to switch the context of a visual design while you are doing stuff. But as you mentioned, the component based things which you can do, but yeah, you need a lot of support from your engineering team to do so. So, yeah, you're saying something, Dipanshu. Sorry.
yeah, I was saying like, yeah, it's really a problem. Like, if I visit the websites like Dribble, and they have some UI designs, and when I shift to like coding them, it's very difficult for me to code them actually.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the problem of Dribble
Okay,
actually. It's
that's
more of
okay. That's a
inspiration.
different that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
We will
that's
need
pretty much a
different
different
space for
space,
that.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean to like just to add to that, I mean, sorry, I just forgot your name, Deepanshu. Sorry. So just to add to that space, I think nothing is impossible. Whatever you see on Dribble, I think it all can be achieved. It's just that the
yeah,
way Akash has mentioned that we need to have the team like that, right? So if we know that these are the people who can actually bring in that creative aspect to it and sort of put in some extras, trying to develop something that's really futuristic in terms of the development space, and then also at the same time giving you something That's not very ordinary or traditional way of we interacting with a certain application. So
Yeah,
yeah, I
I
Yeah,
mean,
mean,
it really believes, or it depends on how we
I will.
look at it and what is the team we have with
I'll
us.
just add, like, absolutely agree with him. I will just add to that. I always believe that UX is 70% engineering efforts than the designing efforts, right? You can design beautiful, interactive, animated loading screen, but user won't be happy to see it, right? And if your API response is taking like good amount of time just to pull in some response, your UX is gone, right? It doesn't matter how beautiful your UI is and how amazing your animation and loading animation is. So all these people who are working from the engineering side plays a very, very, very vital role into the user experience. And we always have to acknowledge that. Even like as a designer, as a product designer, you we always think about whatever we are designing, is it feasible by the engineering team, right? Do we have that much of expertise into that? And that's why we always involve designer, engineers, and all these stakeholders, even the backend engineers, even the front end engineers, all of them are always involved in the design to understand what is going to happen next. So, yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, it's
I
actually a
absolutely
pain.
agree. Yeah, I absolutely agree to that. That's completely true. Sorry,
Yeah,
I just interrupted. Yeah, Deepanshu, please go ahead.
yeah, I was just saying, yeah, it's actually a pain, like when like design is given by someone else, and you have to code it according to him. Like if the design team don't have any idea that what's actually possible.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly you're designing BMW in a Mercedes factory, even though you are
Yeah.
designing the same car, but uh, right, you don't have expertise or you don't have clarity given to the engineers, and I think this is the biggest problem where teams fails to deliver, and many new startups have acknowledged that, and they have solved this problem by involving engineers and backend developers, everybody from the team to involve all of them at the very early stage of designs and product decisions and all of that. So yeah, that's very important. Not
Yeah. I think Manish wants to ask something. Manish, go ahead. Manish, you are not audible. Okay, I think he's facing some issues. Shubham, do you want to ask anything? Okay. So Akash, like if we are building it as a developer perspective as well as a designer perspective, when I join any startup, like it's like my personal experience, like they believe that a developer also designs the UI of the product. Is that true?
absolutely, it is true. I mean, they are the people who put soul in your design, right? So
Yeah,
I
like
mean,
actual like building it from scratch, and they believe that we will like deliver the product there to them in 1 or 2 months with the design.
yeah, I mean, these all these front end engineers are the uh, people who actually make your UX or your design look beautiful, right? So they had, as I mentioned earlier, also they plays very vital role into uh, all this UX of your product and performance and all those things.
Okay, it's actually like the front end developer should also be a UI UX designer.
No, no, no. Don't
Yeah,
take it that.
that was yeah.
Don't take a bad list. So there is a line, right? So I UX. I mean, the front end developers always have an eye for the design, right? They because they develop the experience. Their eyes have been trained to differentiate between good design, bad design, good experience, bad experience, and all those things. So they have that opinion. And as a, I personally if I feel that if I say that I'm a good designer, I can say because of the rapport or the relation I have built with the front end developers, right? Otherwise, my designs are just plain JPEG or PNGs sitting in my designing tool, right? So, but at the same time, of course, you have more data points. So whenever a developer, let's say, comes with an opinion on your design, it's your job, it's a part of your job as a designer that you convince them that why this decision has been made, what is the history of this, and what is the history of this decision, and how it's going to impact the future, and so on. And that's how. And I think if you have good rapport with your engineers, this is not a problem which you will ever face. So yeah.
Okay, that was actually a good because I was actually confused about that.
No, I mean honestly, as a designer, I make sure that I'm always in a good book of my front end engineers, right? So and that's how things become absolutely easy uh, while working. And the first step is have coffee with them, have frequent coffee meetings with them, have lunch with them, and then make sure that uh, you understand how they will convince with your like design decisions and all those things. And the second thing is you involve them in your design process, why you are designing, what you are designing, what is coming in their way to develop in future, and so on. And once you are like all of you are on the same page, it becomes very easy to ship that product.
Yeah, I was muted. So how do you want to say something like add up to this?
I'm sorry, this conversation is getting so interesting. Like, I just felt like coming back and asking one more question. Like, not question exactly, but yeah, I mean, I just wanted to desperately talk about what you asked Dipanshu there.
Yeah, actually, I was
It's like,
like talking about the struggle between the front end, the development and the UI UX.
right. So, Akash, if you allow me, can I just speak about that from the design
Yes,
side?
yes, yes, please. I mean, I would love to hear.
Okay, so I'll tell you an interesting story. It's just like 2 minutes of yours, I'll take. So, see, there's always a very, awkward connection, like how you would go on a date for the very first time, right? You don't know the girl. So, what's your approach? You will, of course, try to, present yourself like in a best possible manner. That's what you would do, correct? So, it's the same thing that you have to have a connection with the developer, right? Consider that person as, a developer, a date. So you sort of talk to that person in a way that you make sense. Because when you're going on the very first date, right, you will ensure that you're just talking everything that makes sense to that person. So I think it's all about that that sort of story, you'll have to create. Now, talking about how do you, put your story across, right? So you'll have to be stepping into their shoes partially to understand what sort of requirement it is, and how you need to really ensure that that person will be able to give you the desired results that you want. That's how your design needs to be accessible and not flaunting. It needs to speak a language which is purely a user experience, and not just the user interface. Just like Akash has already mentioned, that it's just something that you need to understand, that when you're creating an interface, no matter, it has to look good. It holds a face value. A product, goes hand in hand. Of course, the development efforts are like immense, but the design also plays a key role there, right? But that design has to also speak, you know, in a language that the developers are taking it as a treat and not like as a regret. So that's why it has to be taken in a very cautious way. It has to be taken in a very subtle way. You need to make them understand that, okay, this is the design, that's the approach. this is the research, and that's the reason we have come to this conclusion that that's how we have to do it, right? So this whole process that Akash is trying to explain is that your designs might look good, but they are just stupid unless it cannot be coded, right? But nowadays things are getting better. People have creative ideas, they have creative thoughts. It's just that there is no, there's like lack of resources. People are not able to identify who's the right coder or who's the right person who can do it for them. So there are some no code tools, as Akash is mentioning, that bridges that gap till an extent. I would not say that's actually helping you a lot, but it's just, uh, letting you propose your idea that, okay, I'm just a very emerging front end developer. I want to become better in what I'm doing. So to do that, of course, you will leverage those tools and try to, at least put your point across that, okay, this is my idea, this is my product, and what do you think about it? And then you show it to the team. You don't show it to the bunch of engineers. You show it to the front end team, back end team, everybody else, and then just like Akash said, everybody has a different approach to it. Everybody has a different way of going towards it. So just like he said, you go on coffee dates, you go on this thing. So it's like you just treat developers the way you treat your buddies, you treat your best friends, and try to understand their skills first. Like, if this person is really going to be helpful for you with the desired skill sets, is he really the person who can pick up your tasks, which you have finished as a designer, and handed it over to a developer? But that developer, is he really equipped enough? If not, then you'll have to really, scale your product's vision based on the capabilities that you have in hand as a front end person or a back end person or a developer person. So it's more of that. So the journey is never complete by one side, right? Like it has to be from both the ends. You have to come together. So that's why I think that's one of the things which I wanted to add desperately from design side, that both play a really important role. But as Akash has mentioned, that the ratio will always be greater on the development side, because there's tons and tons of work which you guys absolutely have no idea. I think he and me have shared, I think, pretty much similar amount of experience. I hold like a 16, 14 years of experience, good amount of it. So I know, all sort of problem areas that one could really think of and, just give up. But you cannot, because you're just at the center of it and you have to find solutions. So that's how it is. And every product comes with their own challenges. But how you really route yourself towards those challenges and, perceive that outcome, I think it's all about that. Just to keep it very simple. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for the time that you have given me. Sorry, I took a lot.
I think it was the best example, and I am going to remember it all the time. And it pretty much solves all my doubts regarding that.
Yeah, I mean, just give them the mechanical keyboard and not the red roses.
Yeah. Okay. So, do we have any more questions? You can do a request and ask them.
I think I
Okay.
have one last question to Sohan. So, Sohan, I would
Yeah,
like to
please.
like understand your perspective because you are being a design manager. How do you do dispute management, right? Because that is your one part of the job. How you
Is
take care of that?
you're saying dispute or distribute? I couldn't hear it.
Dispute between teams, right? Because you manage a design team and
Yeah, yeah,
there are developers and there is always a friction, and which is a creative friction, I always call it. So
correct.
how do you take care of that?
I think it all begins from the learning. So I personally try to be into their shoes. Firstly, I mean, partially, I would say that I try to gain the knowledge of, say, for example, we're working on a specific framework. But being a designer, you don't have the knowledge of that, and you don't have that much time to really absorb a lot of content around that. So I directly go to certain handy resources like Medium, Quora, try to identify, okay, this is a scenario, and this is the framework. What are the design possibilities of it, right? And to achieve those design, what are the challenges that the developer teams have already faced, and what are the alternatives that they came up with, or the workarounds that they found. Based on that, then I go and confidently speak to my set of people who I have here, which I'm very much aware about because now I've been working in this company for 4 years, right? So I know which development team has what skill sets, and what are the people's potential there, and how we can really achieve the kind of things that we want to achieve from them. So I sit with them and then I speak with them. So I don't really, so the dispute always stays. They will be like, no, 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 अरे ये कैसे होगा? अरे ये तो बहुत difficult है यार. अरे वो, but ये workaround नहीं चलेगा. अरे वो alternative नहीं चलेगा. So what I do is I try to create these prototypes, and then I also keep those prototypes with certain features stitched to it from the platform that we want to achieve this into. So say for example, I'm working with Power BI, and the Power BI guy comes to me, or the manager comes to me, says that, okay, in Power BI, this is not possible, which is very obvious, right? I think you also must be encountering certain situations that, the person just be upfront about it at times, or he might be just subtly putting it across that was, okay, ye nahi ho sakta hai because there are restrictions to it. But I believe that, there are always possibilities to crack the, out of the box features and try to create something custom within that space. So I do my research a bit, and then based on that research, I sit with them again. I show them a prototype, and then I tell them that, okay, now can we just open up Power BI? Let me show you how this is now, how this is done. And then they are like, oh, okay, we didn't know about this. That's because they don't. So either they lack with the set of information regarding that specific tool, or it's our duty to educate them further that, okay, there are possibilities that are beyond the tools, sort of capabilities, that you can do it. But to do that, you'll have to do some jugaad in our language, and in our own way, that, okay, there is always an out of the box feature which is annoying, but you do some jugaad around it. You find some workarounds, and then you achieve that part. And through that, today, we have delivered successfully like 6 products within Power BI. And the moment they open up that Power BI interfaces, they are just mind blown by the fact that how can you guys make it look so, visually enriched as well as functional without even changing Power BI's capabilities. That's because we are not disturbing or breaking the framework. We are trying to sit within the framework and give them some, possibilities within that space, which is talking in today's modern day trends, and also functional enough for them from the business aspect of it, of a specific product. So the dispute, it never ends, but the dispute can be, settled by giving them the facts. And I think I just believe in giving a lot of facts every time. So for me, it's like a routine to just come up with facts and not just talk like, everything, what do you call it, like visually empowering, but no potential.
Yeah, I think that, yeah, that's how you make them feel that they're involved and you are accessible. So, yeah,
Yep.
cool.
Yeah, I think we have no more doubts and we can wind up. And thank you, Akash and Sohan, for joining, and Kartik also for having such a great discussion.
Thanks, man. Thanks for
Yeah,
like inviting us.
yeah.
Thank you so much,
Uh,
Deepanshu. It's a pleasure. And Akash, thank you so much for giving me your time.
Oh, come on. Thank you.